Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be going over some very interesting information, and a lot of this information is going to be coming from a truther by the name of Eric Dubé, and I really recommend that you check out his work. The links to his work is in the description area, so you can check that out afterwards. Today we're going to be going over some information that comes from his website, theatlanteanconspiracy.com, which is a holy grail of information. So again, get in the description links. The purpose of this video is to lay some more of the groundwork and put some more facts out there concerning the flat earth, globe earth, ongoing war. And this is a time of awakening for humanity. A lot of people can't see that. In this time of awakening, people say the flat earth is a psyop, it's a conspiracy, it's a theory. But really, it's a fact of nature if you're not ignoring your senses. So with that being said, the purpose of these videos is to just get people to understand that I'm not an insane moron who's promoting a psyop. There are hundreds of thousands of flat earthers, many of them with degrees, and we are not all morons, insane people. If you would take the time and look into some of the information, you would come to some startling conclusions. I once thought flat earth was a theory, and I would joke when I passed by titles with flat earth in it. And for a while, I never looked into it. And one day I looked into a couple of videos, and I just didn't have the patience to sit through all of the long drawn explanations of why the earth is flat. And quite frankly, I didn't find it important until I came across some particular videos submitted by Jeranism. Shout out to him. People who started to investigate a lot of the things we were being taught. And me, myself, personally, after many days of research and many days of investigating and questioning things, and it became overwhelmingly obvious that the flat earth was not simply just a theory, that this is a big cover-up that has been hidden from the masses for a very long time, and at the root of this is very huge deception. Now, there are many theories to support the round earth, but we must keep in mind that what they are just theories. They are not facts. And because they're not facts, we see a lot of NASA deception with the CGI imagery and all of that, which we'll get into. When we deal with theories in today's modern science, you must keep in mind that you can make any equation to prove a theory. And that's exactly what NASA is doing. So keep that in mind, that their equations prove their theories, but they never prove the universal truth. As a result of accepting these theories, we end up denying our senses. So once again, the purpose of this video is to share some basic and vital information from Mr. Eric Dubé. What evidence do us flat earthers have to support our arguments? We have the evidence of our senses in every experiment ever devised to test for Earth's alleged curvature or motion. The horizon always remains flat 360 degrees around you and rises to the eye of the observer no matter how high you ascend. And this is true. In fact, it's called a horizon because it stays horizontal. And if it were to ever curve, maybe it would be a curvizon. We're just going over basic things in this video to let you understand some of the basics to this. All amateur balloons and rockets to altitudes of over 20 miles high watch the flat horizon rise with the level of the observer all the way up. On a spherical Earth, no matter how large, the horizon would stay where it was, and you would have to look down to see it more and more the further you ascended. You will never look down at the horizon, however, and it will always remain completely flat 360 degrees around. Only in NASA's fake CGI footage or footage filmed through a wide-angle lens do we ever see the supposed curvature of the Earth. So this is very important because at least 90% of the planet believe that they live on a globe. And today I'm going to share with you many reasons why I abandoned that belief. Because all my life I never saw a bend in the horizon, but theories made me ignore my senses. When I asked questions about the earth and why people don't fall off the bottom of it, they told me gravity, and we say, oh, okay, and we stopped questioning it. We all know the basic principles of water. And some of those principles is the fact that water does not bend and hold its shape in a ball under no circumstances. And if you can show me how water can bend, then gravity will no longer be a theory. It'll be a fact. Okay, so understand this is something that they have never been able to do. For those who want to argue with me, tell Neil deGrasse Tyson to do that experiment instead of drop microphones, okay? Because I don't care how many microphones you drop, it'll never make water flow uphill, and it'll never make it rain upside down. So you can ignore your senses, but that's on you, and it's also an explanation for why the world's so senseless. None of their science and their theories make sense, and all you ever got was computer animations and paintings. When you gonna wake up and look what's outside in front of your eyes instead of what's on NASA software? Because nobody never saw a curve in the horizon other than their deception. Here's the problem, guys, what I have with NASA. We all should know by now that the moon missions were fake. When we go back and investigate those space missions, we got to ask ourselves, what did they really see when they got up there? What did they really see? Now, whatever they saw, then we have to ask ourselves, did they come back and tell the masses exactly what they saw, or did they make up something to hide what was up there? And if that's so, then why would they do that? So these are questions we got to ask, and these are questions that many flat earthers ask. And when you ask these questions and begin that quest, you end up down a rabbit hole full of startling information. To make a long story short, when they got up there, they saw the same thing we saw down here. A horizon, a flat horizon. There was no curvature when they went up there with them space missions. So then the question is now is, when they came back, why did they decide to give us fake images? Why did they go through all this trouble and create this Photoshop software to give us all of these fake images of the earth? So that answers the questions I asked you previously. When they got up there, they saw a flat horizon, which was spoke of by the ancients and many ancient cosmology. But since they had already bamboozled the world and had millions of dollars invested into this globe, you really think they was going to come back and say, okay, guys, it's not a globe, it's flat. So let's rewrite all of the science books, cancel all of the billion-dollar space programs. You really think they have that type of integrity, people? What's sad about it, you got plenty globe heads that know that the government is very deceptive, but they say these bastards lie about everything, man, except the globe. So when people have been into space, why is it, do you think, that they did not identify the earth as being flat? Outer space is a science fiction myth woven by lying Freemasons with some rockets, computer graphics, and a multi-billion-dollar taxpayer-funded budget. You got to understand something. If you was looking me in the eyes right now and I asked you in your face, have you ever seen a super earth and a super world where it's all ocean? Some of these graphics we see, remember on the History Channel, they had the whole universe series. If you go on Google and put in Earth and put in any of these space phenomena that many people believe to be true, what you will find when you get on Google is that everything you're looking at is a CGI image. If it was real, why would they fake it? That's a question you got to ask. If I say I got $1 million and the people come in there and they say, prove it to me, Brother Sanchez, and they come in the room and I show them $1 million in fake money, and they call me out for being a lie, and I'm still standing there saying I got the $1 million, who's wrong? Who's the liar? If I really had the $1 million, why would I fake it? Why wouldn't I show them the real $1 million and prove it? So my point here is that if there was really curvature out there and they really went out there to saw curvature, then we would see some real images, some real footage of this curvature other than deception and fakery, CGI and fisheye lens. They wouldn't be going through these extents to fake this stuff, guys. They creating software just to hide your true reality. So if it was really real, why do they go through so much trouble to hide this stuff? Understand that astronauts My bad, I meant astronauts are merely Freemasonic actors playing out their role in propagandizing the public into believing that nihilistic, atheistic, heliocentric cosmology. And why is the heliocentric cosmos atheistic? Because there's no creator in the cosmology. In all ancient cosmology, there was a deity, and that deity was there for a reason, to let the ancient people know no matter how smart you think you're going to get with your science, never deny the fact that there's a supreme being. So today's science give you theories, equations, a bunch of stuff to prove their lies, while at the same time inducing you with fear and hiding and denying the creator. There's no creator creating this heliocentric cosmos. There's a mistake, a chaotic collision that describes man evolving from a solar soup. We are not stardust. We are cosmic energy. And the elites are hiding something about the masses that's very special, that will aid the progression of our spirituality. Also revealing to us what we are, who we are, where we are, and answer some of the most mysterious questions that dwell within our inner being. So they are hiding something that's very valuable, and that is the truth about everything. And it starts in the cosmology. So just understand that astronauts are fully aware of the deception they are participating in, and do not identify the earth as being flat, because they are sworn paid liars doing a job. And if you don't believe that's true, just pay attention to Neil Armstrong's suspect behavior. This man won't even speak about his moon missions. He will not put his hand on the Bible and swear, which I wouldn't care if he did or not, but it just says something. All I'm saying is, if this is a Christian country and he done such an honorable deed as being an American who landed on the moon, why does he have such a negative attitude about it? He should be going around the classroom speaking to kids and all of that about it, showing pictures and all of that. But we see whenever there's a camera in his face, he run away, deny it, and I've proven that in previous videos. The rabbit hole goes deep. So a lot of people say, Brother Sanchez, if the planets is round, if the moon is round and the sun is round, then the earth got to be. And I tell those people in a sarcastic kind of way, just to make them think, if the clouds are puffy, then why is it the earth a cotton ball? If we go by that same logic and reasoning for the earth being round, once you start to study a cell or an egg, you will understand the concept of flat earth. But just to get some more basics, let's move on. So how does flat earth account for planets orbiting the sun? Because many globe earthers say that earth and all of the planets are orbiting the sun. Basically, on a flat earth model, everything in the heavens revolves over and around us just as it appears. Okay, so when we're dealing with flat earth, we're dealing with trusting the senses. Humanity got off track during the Inquisitions and all of the Dark Ages and everything, and the rise of world religions and priesthood dominations, because all of these religions need the globe to support their religions. At the root of all this deception is the cosmology. And almost the whole earth is denying their senses, thinking they're spinning 1,000 miles per hour, but yet we don't feel it. So on a flat earth model, the sun and moon are similar sized objects tracing similar paths over and around a flat, motionless earth. The planets, which were always known as the wandering stars, are not physical, spiritual, terra firma worlds as presented to us in NASA's many fake CGI videos, but are merely tiny lights in the sky which differ from the fit stars in their relative motions only. So the ancestors spoke of fit stars and they spoke of the wandering stars. What we call planets are the wandering stars. And there's 7 of them that correspond to the 7 days of the week. So there's 7 wandering stars, and that includes the sun and moon. The ancients said that the sun and moon were considered wandering stars as well. This goes into the Jewish menorah, and I have another video on that concept about Earth is really not a planet. Earth is the only so-called planet that they give you in their cosmology that is not named after Greek deity, because all of those Greek deities were personifications of the wandering stars, and those personifications and those deities were given attributes based on the movement and the way those wandering stars behave. But since Earth is the center of the cosmos and is flat and motionless, they couldn't attribute it or personify it into a Greek deity. All of the deities we know surrounding the earth are mothers, mother goddesses. And in mythology, it can be looked at as our magic carpet. So when we deal with the earth plane, when we say planet, we're talking about a plane enclosed in a net. The wandering stars are twinkling light fixtures, and this is where we get the old song, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. When you're looking up at the little lights in the night sky twinkling, you are looking at the wandering stars and the fixed stars. The fixed stars were said to be the light fixtures that is attached to the solid firmament dome, and the wandering stars were said to be spherical celestial beings that wander in our atmosphere. There is no outer space. It's all inner space, and there's nothing in between us and the great divine. Heliocentrism places a void of darkness in between us and the creator, which doesn't exist other than your mind, and that's what creates the matrix. But when you think about their concept of space, which is supposed to be a vacuum, understand that a gaseous body cannot exist adjacent to a vacuum without something separating the two. And if you want to see how that works, just light up a cigarette or an incense and put it by a vacuum that's on, and let's see what happened to the smoke. Now imagine that gaseous body being an atmosphere that's attached to a sphere, and at the same time water is curved and attached to this sphere while it's been flung through a vacuum at speeds that's over 100,000 miles per hour. And yet when you look up at the clouds, it's so peaceful. When you look up at the clouds, which are gaseous material, they don't seem to be behaving like they are attached to an object that's going over 100,000 miles per hour through a vacuum. Okay, not to mention through a vacuum. And yet we have a peaceful atmosphere and the clouds are so serene. But in our minds, this heliocentric model is true, because a lie that's told for so long becomes your reality. But me and a lot of others are here to awake you from your matrix, just like Morpheus. Now let's move on. A lot of globalists can't deal with the fact that Polaris, the North Star, remains perfectly fixed directly over the North Pole, and all the other stars rotate perfect circles around it, with their constellations not moving out of position for thousands of years. Yet another proof of geocentrism. Impossible in the heliocentric spinning ball model. Understand that we will not be looking up at the same constellations that people saw hundreds of thousands of years ago if the heliocentric cosmos was true. We would be seeing different galaxies and different star constellations, but nothing has changed. This shows stability. This shows consistency. This shows the ancient cosmology being the truth, and the modern heliocentric globe lie that many of you embrace is just what it is, a theoretical lie, and it's bull crap. And one thing I want to tell people in the Black conscious community is that none of our ancestors had a heliocentric cosmology. And you can't find me a solar system in none of our ancient cosmology. When you find a solar system, you will arrive in a period of history when the control started to begin and the control mechanism started to be put into the textbooks and into play to create this world that you see today. They had to speed humanity up. They had to create the matrix in your mind. Don't you know one of their most expensive programs out of all of the programs is the space program? It's a multi-billion-dollar tax program. And the deep thing about it, they don't receive any questions about that part of the budget from the masses. We just accept what they give us on their little fake computer software and gladly let them ball out with all of that money every year. So this thing is very deep, not to mention if the rug get pulled from under this heliocentric deception, all world religions will crash, because the root of all of these religions is their gods creating this heliocentric cosmos. These male deities that rule the heliocentric cosmos could not rule it in an ancient cosmology because the earth is an infinite plane. So all of these songs about he got the whole world in his hands and God coming to throw the earth into the lake of fire was impossible because the earth is the work of a true creator. Man has always created deities to try to put them above the creation. And the only way they can do that is to create the illusion in your mind. If you believe the earth is a tiny little ball floating in the void of darkness, and you believe that these deities exist, and you believe that they can pick the earth up and throw it in a lake of fire. But if you knew that the earth was an endless plane and that the creator created us and put us on a solid, stable foundation that's immovable because the creator loved us and wouldn't put us on movable ground, everything in nature stands upon foundations. Show me a building without a foundation, okay? That's what you have in the heliocentric universe. These places have no foundations. Earth is a little blue speck in their model. And that's blasphemous against the creator's awesome creation. The creator would never put us on such a chaotic creation that you see in that heliocentric model. And the creator doesn't need a medium to manifest itself between itself and the creation. It don't have to clash objects in together to create man. We're the handiwork of the Most High. And what I mean by that is humanity was made by the hands of the creator. By you accepting a cosmology that excludes the creator, you fail to realize that divine, awesome fact. Today, we have a lot of mental disorders that's centered around this cosmology and these idiotic beliefs that teaches the human being it's a curse and that earth is a curse and that it was made from a chaotic collision, a mishap. What NASA do is very important. They hide the creator in these space programs and they give you space. Space is a program. It's a program that creates space in your mind, but there's no space in reality. There's a divine force that's controlling this creation. And in all ancient cosmology, you will see a divine place for the creator. Unlike our blasphemous ideology in today's modern world. And I know it sounds crazy. People say they believe the earth flat, they stupid, but we have proof for what we believe. This is a fact. Why would I deny my senses? Everything supports this truth. So as we move on, you will see more of what I mean. So a lot of people ask me, what about the changes in seasons and day and night? How does that work on the flat earth model? The sun and moon are much closer and smaller than we are told, 32 miles in diameter, under 3,000 miles high as measured by sextants, and they revolve over and around us, creating a spotlight effect, creating the day and night. The sun's circular orbit expands and contracts every 6 months, beginning at the Tropic of Cancer at 23.5 degrees north latitude on the summer solstice, then slowly widening and revolving faster until it reaches the Tropic of Capricorn at 23.5 degrees south latitude on the winter solstice, then slowly narrowing and revolving slower until it begins the process anew at the summer solstice. These changes in the sun's path and speed are what cause the seasons. And I described that in my previous video, Flat Earth 4 Seasons. The sun and moon is doing the yin-yang dance as described by the ancient Asian ancestors in their cosmology. And it's a carousel type pattern, corkscrew type pattern, a tornado type pattern, if you will. I wouldn't say it's intricate, but it's very interesting. So it's a very simple explanation. So if the earth is indeed flat, then where does it start and end? And why don't we fall off of it? I could similarly ask NASA and modern astronomers, if outer space is indeed real, where does it start and end? And why can't we go beyond that? Antarctica is not the tiny ice continent found confined to the underside of astronomers' globes, but is rather a gigantic ice wall plateau 200 feet tall that surrounds the Earth and holds the oceans in 360 degrees around us. how far the Antarctic ice extends southwards and whether it terminates in an edge barrier firmament or whether it is infinite is currently unknown and unknowable to the public thanks to the Antarctic Treaty, which prevents ordinary people from independent exploration of Antarctica. So just like the space programs were created to prevent ordinary people from being able to explore beyond the clouds, what are they trying to hide? Why would something like that be illegal? This Antarctic Treaty keeps us from exploring the outer rim of the earth. Now, a lot of people say my auntie was in the Navy and she traveled around the globe. If you walk around your block starting from your house and do a 360 around the block and you're going to end back up in your front yard, doesn't mean you walked over a curve and went around a globe to get back to your house. It just means you walked on a flat surface in a circle and ended up back where you started. This is what sailors are doing. They are not circumnavigating a globe. They are going in a circle and they're ending up right where they started. There's no way they're sailing uphill, people. There's no way that water is flowing uphill on their globe, guys. Just imagine a ship going against an uphill current. Imagine a car trying to go up a steep hill. Now imagine a ship going downhill against an uphill water flow on a curved globe. Just the fact that a pilot can follow the sun proves that it's not hundreds of million miles away or hundreds of thousand miles away. We even got footage of pilots flying above the sunset. Everything supports ancient cosmology. So when we look at what's going on the ocean with the sailors, it's the same thing that's going on in a race around a circuit. No matter how far out a sailor sails when he's thinking he's going south, he's just going away from the center, the magnetic center. There's only one magnetic direction, that's north. All compasses point to the center. So when sailors think they're meeting the South Pole, they're really meeting the South Ring. No matter what direction they sail in, outward, away from the center, they will meet that ice barrier. They have been told that they are meeting a ice cap on a globe, and that is deception. Please check out my Planisphere series where I break down how they achieve this deception. Because on a globe, if you have a cap at the top and the bottom, you can create the illusion to a sailor that they're meeting an ice cap every time they sail up and down on a globe, when in reality they're meeting an ice ring every time they sail outward from the center. You see that this is achieved on both models, but it makes more sense on a flat earth model because in our natural reality, we know that water doesn't flow uphill, and any experiment will show you that water doesn't stick to a sphere. When you start getting into ancient sciences and dealing into the first sailors and everything, you would see that a lot of the tools that the sailors used was based around ancient flat earth cosmology, and it wouldn't even be possible to navigate the oceans on a globe that was moving through space reckless the way we have been taught. The ancestors could get in the seas and navigate by the stars. All science is as above, so below. So if no one can demonstrate how water can bend in our reality, but they tell you that somehow it can bend in a theoretical realm called pseudoscience, or what they call science. Only way the water can bend is on their computer screens, on their paintings, and in their illusion. But in nature, if you was to do many experiments, you would see that it doesn't bend. No matter how many equations you want to do and beef up the size of the earth to support this stuff, because that's what I see happening. A lot of globe heads beefing up the size of the earth to try to refute some of the flat earth facts. But every time they beef it up, they lose credibility. We have to accept truth, y'all, if we want to be free. People don't think this is important. Well, the government think it's the most important. So you need to understand why. Why are they showing you what's important on the TV screens and hiding what's really important, what's not being talked about? The sleight of hand trick. You have to relearn how you see reality, because our minds and perception have been manipulated since we were children. Airplanes aren't on a constant nosedive when they are traveling from place to place, because that would have to be true if we were living on a globe. Pilots will have to be on a constant nosedive to keep from flying off into outer space. So understand that if the ground beneath your feet was curved, and they're saying that the atmosphere above it is also curved because it's attached to it, and gravity is holding this atmosphere to the earth. They're saying gravity is strong enough to hold all of the ocean to the earth and even our atmosphere to the earth, but it's still gentle enough not to pull the clouds all the way down to the ground. And it's still gentle enough to let a dragonfly or a hummingbird break its laws. This is why gravity is a theory. Nature proves to you that this is not a fact of nature. This is a theory of man. So gravity does not exist. You are in a terrarium that is more so governed by magnetism or electromagnetism. And when I get into my future videos, what Nikola Tesla was trying to introduce to the planet, you're going to get startling revelations on the magic of our reality that has been hidden. So many of you probably want to know now what happens to the oceans at the end of the earth. The oceans are all connected. They are all completely flat. It's called sea level for a reason. It's called sea level, not sea curved. Water will always find its flat level. The only way it would operate out of the confines of natural reality is in man's theoretical imaginations. So all of the oceans are all connected, and they are all held in by the surrounding Antarctic ice wall. Now, how far the Antarctic ice extends southwards and how it terminates is still unknown to the public because of this Antarctic treaty. They are hiding a lot of stuff, and when people like me question it, they say we insane. But I say, hey, let me see what's at the North Pole. Let me see what y'all hiding out here in Antarctica. Why can't ordinary people launch cameras up there without it being illegal? Why the need to hide so much that's right in front of our eyes and make us ignore our senses? People say you got to fly up so high to start seeing this imaginary curvature, but yet they still say they see curvature when they go to the beach. How can it be both? Irrational conclusions, because they're not thinking this thing out. So when you want to hold on to a lie, you don't want to go through the tedious research of proving that lie to be a lie. So where does the atmosphere start and finish? Because when we look at the heliocentric model, we know that space is a vacuum and we live in a supposedly non-vacuum. And my question is, where does the vacuum of space meets the atmosphere of Earth? Whether space began, because technically, if space is a vacuum, the Earth should not have a gaseous atmosphere. They cannot support this stuff other than CGI models and stupid pictures that aren't real. This heliocentric universe is theoretical, people, and you have to discard it if you want to be set free from their matrix. So where does the atmosphere start and finish? This is another question which even NASA refuses to answer. They claim that at some undetermined height, gravity becomes weaker and weaker until it magically gives way to outer space, which is a vacuum which allows astronauts to free float forever without falling back down. First of all, it is physically and philosophically impossible for infinite non-gravitized vacuum space to exist adjacent to and not separated in any way from non-vacuum gravitized atmosphere. Secondly, no amateur rocket, balloon, or other technology has ever been able to reach this alleged height, where instead of falling back down to Earth like a skydiver, people are able to simply free float. This is because astronauts are not in outer space at all and are simply filming the free-floating effect using camera tricks, green screens, wires, dark pools, and so-called zero-G planes. The reality is, what goes up must come down, and not because of gravity, but because objects always rise or fall based on the relative densities of their surroundings. What they're called gravity is just density and also buoyant force. If you check out a lot of my previous videos on flat earth, I get real deep into that. There's a lot of explanations to support phenomenon in our reality, and our scientists are giving us theoretical ideologies that come from the roots of historic Roman councils and forged history and Copernican idealism, and it's all mythology. Science is a form of religion because there's no evidence to support theories, otherwise they would be facts. Any equation can support any theory, but all the evidence of nature, all our God-given senses, and all of the science of man supports the truth. So understand that a helium balloon rises upwards because it is lighter than the oxygen. So this is get you to understand what I mean about density and how gravity is an illusion. Like I told you, everything in nature proved to humanity every day that gravity is a lie. A simple hummingbird breaks the laws of gravity every day, but man still hold on to these laws and let these dumb Copernican laws govern him in his mind. I'm trying to get you out of the matrix, people. Gravity does not exist. So people say that the human being is magical, but they tell us we're so magical upon death. You get wings when you die and become an angel, all of that. Who's to say that a lot of things we doubt can't be true in this reality if we would get out of the matrix of our mind and understand the where of our existence and where we are? Because the where is being hidden, the who is being hidden, and we don't know who we are or what we are, why we are. Why were you born? All of this ties into your cosmology. Where is the creator situated in this cosmos? Because NASA has a vacuum for your creator. And understand that they're a bunch of sun-worshipping atheists, so it makes perfect sense. But when you understand that there's no place where vacuum of space can meet the non-vacuum gaseous atmosphere of Earth without one of the two winning over and giving out, you will understand the simple nature of the deception. That one aspect alone ought to make you question everything else to say, hey, that does make sense. Light an incense next to a vacuum and see what happens to the smoke. So a helium balloon rises upwards because it is lighter than the oxygen. A rock drops right to the ground because it is denser than the air surrounding it. Very simple. The helium balloon doesn't mysteriously escape gravity while the rock is subjected to it, but rather, as was known for millennia before Newton's silly theory, objects naturally rise or fall towards their own density, people. Upon death, you will assume the spirit, which is a sort of a gaseous realm. What do they say happened to the spirit or the soul by it being a gas? It ascends, it rises, and it's not breaking the law of gravity. There is no gravity. It's lighter than the elements in the air surrounding it. The rock drops because it's denser than the air surrounding it. So again, the helium balloon doesn't mysteriously escape some law called gravity that Newton made, that many people believe in, but they still talk a lot about ancient stuff, but they accept Newton's silly theory. They embrace a Copernican universe. I once embraced it. People, you're supposed to be on an ongoing journey of awakening, but the globe stops that journey. How can you not question that? It comes from the same deceivers that gave us the rest of the lies. So if your journey stops at the globe, then I pity you. So how does the Earth's magnetic field work? Does the reverse side of the Earth also have magnetism? So understand that the farthest anyone has ever drilled into the Earth is a mere 8 miles. So in reality, no one knows what is beyond 8 miles deep. But our scientific establishment has taken the liberty of providing every school textbook with images showing a ball Earth with several hypothetical layers going from crust to outer mantle to inner mantle. to outer core and inner core, where they claim there is hot molten magnetic metal causing Earth to have constantly moving magnetic dip holes on its surface. In reality, they have not even drilled beyond the crust, but claim to know what exists at every layer, and their theory of Earth's magnetism resulting from a molten metal core suggests a type of magnet that doesn't actually exist. Understand, ladies and gentlemen, that if it did exist, these pictures of their hypothesis would not be illustrations in CGI. This flat earth cosmology is ancient art that is based on your actual senses. This is not CGI art and deception. When you walk outside that door every day, you see a flat horizon. If you ever flew in an airplane like me, I saw a flat horizon, and also the atmosphere was flat. I flew above flat clouds who assumed the shape of the ground beneath them. If the ground was curved, the atmosphere, which is supposedly stuck to it, will hop the curve. I flew in planes before. The ground is flat. The atmosphere is flat. No matter how high we go, the horizon meets us at eye level, and it's always flat. They haven't gone up high enough to ever see a curve, and we never would see a curve because the ancients were correct. The earth is an infinite plane. So if there was curvature, it would be easily detected. It would not be hard to detect it at all with simple math and experiments. But all the math and experiments prove is that a horizon is just what it is, horizontal. So our flat Earth's actual magnetism, however, works similar to that of a ring magnet found in loudspeakers, where the North Pole is the monopole pole at the center, and the South Pole is actually every point along the outer circumference. It's simple cosmology. There is no South Pole. There's a South Ring. There's a North Pole. North is the source. When we talk about South, we're dealing with the boundary. Remember, the OU root deals with outer. It deals with south. It deals with outward. It deals with boundary. It deals with surrounding. So when you hear words with OU, it's dealing with outer. I don't know if you have a dog. I have 2 Chihuahuas, and they have snouts. And this is because it comes out. Their teeth and their nose comes outward, and it's called a snout. Just like a human has a mouth, and that mouth is used to express outward things come out of the mouth called words. When we talk about the source, we're talking about the OU root as well, dealing with the Most High who sits above the waters, above the firmament, and feeds this cosmos through this umbilical cord that we are calling the North Pole, and it's fed through the center, just like everything we see in nature, just like everything we see in existence. But somehow we've been bamboozled to accept the cosmology that goes against every fact of nature and even denies our very God-given senses. And as a result, the world we live in is very senseless. So understand that the Jews, Jesuits, Freemasons, and other embedded secret societies in the current New World Order establishment have been lying about the earth and many other subjects for centuries. To learn a true history that's been kept from you and uncover this massive deception, the mother of all conspiracies, read the Atlantean Conspiracy and the Flat Earth Conspiracy and visit atlanteanconspiracy.com. So understand that gravity isn't a force, it's a theory, and this theory supports the matrix that governs your philosophy. Your concept of the creator in reality is only that which has been given to you by these deceivers. And the only way to undo that is to start all over. What if no one never told you about a globe? You would have never thought the earth was round. Again, a lot of people say we look up at a circular sun, so that makes the earth a ball. With the same logic, we look up at puffy clouds, so that should make the earth a cotton ball. We got to free our mind and quit being sheeple, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this flat earth thing is something I take very serious. It's not a belief. It's a fact of my reality. I no longer deny my senses, and I don't no longer live in a theoretical reality. Like I said, I don't care how many mics Neil deGrasse Tyson dropped. it still will never make water flow uphill. People say, well, toilets flush the reverse way in the southern hemisphere and all this nonsense that we already debunked and proven to be deception. Why do we take the explanations that they give us and don't come to any conclusions of our own? There's an agenda behind all of their theories, people. Free your mind. So we would get pictures like this from a lot of globe heads, and you can see they zoomed up close with their camera with a basketball here, and they say, where is the curvature? Basketballs are flat. So this is a sarcastic shot at flat earthers here we see from 9gag.com or some site like that. But the idiots don't realize that the curvature is clearly visible. There's clearly curvature visible. This is not the phenomenon we see at the beach. So whoever idiot made this picture, I'm pretty sure they are paid off troll. And if you don't believe paid off trolls are real, check out the video that I uploaded. 100% proof that these government shills and these agents and trolls are out here to harass and antagonize flat earthers for putting this truth out. We letting the cat out of the bag, people. They know it. Why else would Barack Obama speak on it? The president speaking on flat earth issues. They sweating. What's to hide? Why are they hiding it? If y'all can't see we being deceived, I really can't help you. So whoever made this dumb picture, understand that the curvature is clearly visible on the basketball here. Only pictures we ever saw of Earth was CGI images and camera deception we see on TV in Hollywood, the same kind of deception. Hollywood and NASA work hand in hand. We don't have no actual real pictures of Earth or real pictures of all of this stuff we've been given since children. It's all computer images and illustrations and drawings. One of NASA's chiefs already spoke out that they use Photoshop because they have to. The globular Copernican lies still prevail. The truth is not popular. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is the most noble thing to do. Of course it's embarrassing being a flat earther. You don't want to tell nobody, hey man, the earth is flat. But you can't deny it within yourself if it has become your truth. With all of the research and experimenting I've done and investigating I've done, I can never go back to believing the globe lie. It's a lie that makes you deny your senses. It's a lie that tells you was created from a chaotic collision by a chaotic creator in a chaotic vacuum and a Copernican existence that separates humanity from the source. We got all of these foolish beliefs as a result of this bogus universe that we believe to be true in our minds, because this is the only place it exists. Remember that the space programs are programs that you guys bought into. We bought into the deception. We bought into the lies, and we were programmed with space. There was imaginary space created in our minds, a vacuum of darkness with meteors and comets and chaotic things happening. And all of this, where is the creator? They say at the edge of the universe, but they tell you the universe is infinite, therefore there is no creator in the Copernican universe. I follow the way of the ancients because in the ancient cosmology, there was always where humanity had a place for the creator. Today, everybody embraced this Copernican model, and we have different chaotic gods who we said brought this chaotic creation into existence and going to use this chaos against you if you don't obey them. So this whole cosmology is at the root of the whole world religious deception. It ties into everything. You will understand why NASA and the Vatican share a contract and work together. The Vatican has a private space program in coordination with NASA. This thing is very deep. The deception goes very deep, guys. And that's why I did this video. Go to Eric Dubé's channel and check out his work, y'all, because he got a lot of valuable information. So thanks for everybody for joining in. Until the next time, new uploads every Thursday. Peace and much love. Because all my life I never saw a bend in the horizon, but theories made me ignore my senses. When I asked questions about the earth and why people don't fall off the bottom of it, they told me gravity, and we say, oh, okay, and we stop questioning it. We all know the basic principles of water, and some of those principles is the fact that water does not bend and hold its shape in a ball under no circumstances. And if you can show me how water can bend, then gravity will no longer be a theory, it'll be a fact. Okay, so understand this is something that they have never been able to do. For those who want to argue with me, tell Neil deGrasse Tyson to do that experiment instead of drop microphones, okay? Because I don't care how many microphones you drop, it'll never make water flow uphill, and it'll never make it rain upside down. So you can ignore your senses, but that's on you, and it's also an explanation for why the world's so senseless. None of their science and their theories make sense, and all you ever got was computer animations and paintings. When you gonna wake up and look what's outside in front of your eyes instead of what's on NASA software? Because nobody never saw a curve in a prism. Shout out to him. People who started to investigate a lot of the things we were being taught. And me, myself, personally, after many days of research and many days of investigating and questioning things, and it became overwhelmingly obvious that the flat earth was not simply just a theory. that this is a big cover-up that has been hidden from the masses for a very long time, and at the root of this is very huge deception. Now, there are many theories to support the round earth, but we must keep in mind that what they are just theories. They are not facts. And because they're not facts, we see a lot of NASA deception with the CGI imagery and all of that, which we'll get into. When we deal with theories in today's modern science, you must keep in mind that you can make any equation to prove a theory. And that's exactly what NASA is doing. So keep that in mind, that their equations prove their theories, but they never prove the universal truth. As a result of accepting these theories, we end up denying our senses. So once again, the purpose of this video is to share some basic and vital information from Mr. Eric Dubé. What evidence do us flat earthers have to support our arguments? We have the evidence of our senses in every experiment ever devised to test for Earth's alleged curvature or motion. The horizon always remains flat 360 degrees around you and rises to the eye of the observer no matter how high you ascend. And this is true. In fact, it's called a horizon because it stays horizontal. And if it were to ever curve, maybe it would be a curvizon. We're just going over basic things in this video to let you understand some of the basics to this. All amateur balloons and rockets to altitudes of over 20 miles high watch the flat horizon rise with the level of the observer all the way up. On a spherical Earth, no matter how large, the horizon would stay where it was, and you would have to look down to see it more and more the further you ascended. You will never look down at the horizon, however, and it will always remain completely flat 360 degrees around. Only in NASA's fake CGI footage or footage filmed through a wide-angle lens do we ever see the supposed curvature of the Earth. So this is very important, because at least 90% of the planet believe that they live on a globe. And today I'm going to share with you many reasons why I abandoned that belief. Because the purpose of this video is to lay some more of the groundwork and put some more facts out there concerning the flat earth, globe earth, ongoing war. And this is a time of awakening for humanity. A lot of people can't see that. In this time of awakening, people say the flat earth is a psyop, it's a conspiracy, it's a theory, but really it's a fact of nature if you're not ignoring your senses. So with that being said, the purpose of these videos is to just get people to understand that I'm not an insane moron who's promoting a psyop. There are hundreds of thousands of flat earthers, many of them with degrees, and we are not all morons, insane people. If you would take the time and look into some of the information, you would come to some startling conclusions. I once thought flat earth was a theory, and I would joke when I passed by titles with flat earth in it. And for a while, I never looked into it. And one day I looked into a couple of videos, and I just didn't have the patience to sit through all of the long drawn explanations of why the earth is flat. And quite frankly, I didn't find it important until I came across some particular videos submitted by Jaron. Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be going over some very interesting information, and a lot of this information is going to be coming from a truther by the name of Eric Dubé. And I really recommend that you check out his work. The links to his work is in the description area, so you can check that out afterwards. Today we're going to be going over some information that comes from his website, theatlanteanconspiracy.com, which is a holy grail of information. So again, get in the description.